Here's something I want to talk about. A lot of time when it comes to politics, they give you the story and they tell you about the policy, but they don't always give you the reason behind the policy. So I'm going to read the story. It should take about 3 to 4 minutes, hopefully, maybe less. And then I'm going to give you the rest of the story behind the story. 10,864 Venezuelans pour into Texas border region, up from 135 last year. Now, how people get all the way from Venezuela to the Mexican border is beyond me. Del Rio, Texas. On any given day in Del Rio, hundreds of Venezuelans wade across the Rio Grande from Mexico into the United States. They're carrying more belongings than illegal aliens from most other countries. One woman who said she was a photographer back home had her professional Nikon camera equipment in her backpack. They arrive on shore and proceed to change into dry clothes, discarding the wet ones on the ground. Discarded shoes, many looking new, dot the pathway up from the river in two main locations. Some pull toothbrushes and clean their teeth. The Carrizo cane next to the dirt road rustles as many find cover to go to the bathroom. State troopers are usually on site in a large dusty parking area to greet them and pass out water as well as granola bars to the hungry. The wrappers are often discarded on the ground unless a law enforcement officer point them to a trash bag. Sometimes a trooper will take a photo of the group, count how many there are, and find out where they're from. Many of the new arrivals are quick to pull out their smartphones and call loved ones to say they made it. Then everyone waits for the Border Patrol to come scoop them up. It can take anywhere from 10 minutes to more than 2 hours as the agency scrambles to keep up with the overwhelming influx. Bags are thrown into the van and bodies pile in the back before they're whisked to the processing center and then released. In just 7 days, our agents have encountered over 5,800 migrants from 29 different countries, Del Rio Sector Border Patrol Chief Austin Scarrow wrote on Twitter on June 4th. During this same time, 63 smuggling attempts were caught on our highways. More than 119,000 illegal aliens from 70 countries have been apprehended in this sector so far this fiscal year. Del Rio is a city of just over 35,000 people, while nearby Eagle Pass has about 30,000 people. The region is mostly ranch land. The number of Venezuelans coming is immense. In the sector alone, with 4 months to go in the fiscal year, 10,864 Venezuelans have been apprehended by Border Control according to Customs and Border Protection. In comparison, for the whole of 2020, 135 Venezuelans were apprehended. Many Venezuelans told Epoch Times they flew to Cancun, then Monterrey in Mexico before crossing the river into Del Rio. Some came via Colombia. A large portion intended to live in Florida, in particular Orlando, Tampa, and Miami, where they already have family members. The surge has mainly occurred over the last few months. On March 8th, Biden administration said it would grant temporary protected status to Venezuelans already in the United States, allowing an estimated 320,000 people to apply legally to live and work in the country for 18 months. Temporary protected status, which was created in 1990, grants citizens of eligible nations the ability to stay if they can't safely return to their home country because of natural disasters, armed conflicts, or other factors. Citizens of 12 countries are in the United States with temporary protected status. The largest number come from El Salvador, Honduras, and Haiti, which the United States are basically responsible for wrecking their country. I can understand that. Many with U.S. citizen children and spouses. Nationals from Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen also have temporary protected status. Another group of countries where the United States is responsible for wrecking their country. Trump administration has sought to phase out the program, arguing that it had effectively become permanent residency after repeated extensions, sometimes for decades. As such, President Trump didn't grant temporary protected status to Venezuelans, but he did issue an order of deferring deportation for a smaller number of Venezuelans on his final day in office. I do believe this is from the Epoch Times. Yeah, it's from the Epoch Times. The link is in the description. It's kind of hard to get because I think it is a premium article, but I'll put it in there just in case. You might be interested in reading it. Okay. The thing is that you have to remember this is a demographic problem. And the United States is quickly losing white people. And even Biden, the Biden administration has said that the white folks are losing their majority faster than they expected. And all these estimates were pre-COVID because the COVID-19 2020 estimates were not in. Now you finally had a year's worth of COVID-19. You had 600,000 deaths just from COVID alone. And you had another, what they call excess deaths, which is close to like 800,000. So you lost damn near a million people. You had a low birth count, extreme low birth rate count for 2020. And your demographics, your population has slumped, or the demographic momentum has slumped. So the formula is you try to keep a population stable. So if you lose people, they have to come from somewhere. And the quickest way to get people, instead of growing them, is to import them, especially white people, because white people want to keep a majority. The majority of people that died in COVID-19 were white. You probably lost like 500,000 white people during COVID. Maybe a little less, a little more, but of that 800,000 excess deaths, probably 500,000 of them were white. And then the white people already had a low birth rate. You're going to have less white people born. So your population probably will sink, which is a population that was already sinking and losing people. So you're going to have to find a place to go get white people from. And the whitest people are where? Venezuela. So Biden is responding to that, basically. Okay, you don't have enough people. You want more white people. White people are hard to come by because all those places that you mentioned that have white people also have extremely low birth rates, and they can't afford to lose people. So the only place to import people is from Latin America. And the most educated group and the whitest group actually come from Venezuela, which is why I wondered how 10,000 Venezuelans show up at the border in Del Rio, because they're flying in. And they're flying in because a wink and a nod, they gave the welcome mat open that we need more white Latins to come in. So they're probably going to be expressed out to Florida or someplace on the East Coast to replace the white people that they lost, especially in Florida, right? Florida lost quite a few people. And there's other places that were already in population deficit, especially with young folks. So you had people coming in from Somalia, you got people coming from other places, and probably landing, like people like Somalia landing in places there in the north that don't have any people, like Montana and South Dakota, places that you wouldn't normally find dark people. But at this point, they're going to have to replace the population that they lost. And so the population is probably decelerating faster than expected. In fact, there was an article there saying that population is actually decelerating faster than expected, especially for the white Western people. So this move actually does make sense. Sometimes when you look at the story behind the story, which is why you have all those children that have been detained at the border that Trump kind of overlooked for 4 years until it came election time, and he got caught with these children, pushed them back across the border. They caused a crisis, which Biden had to come back in and take those kids back across the border and then distribute them like they were going to distribute them in the first place. And sometimes I wish that politicians would just tell the truth. Okay, you've been doing this for years. It didn't start with you. You know why you're doing it. You know why you're importing them. At least the Europeans don't lie about why they're bringing people in. At least they tell you that you need people to bolster your numbers because you have a low birth rate. At least you can tell the American people that, instead of this rigmarole about, well, the Democrats want to let illegal aliens in, and the Republicans don't want to let illegal aliens in, and they don't want to give these people green cards and citizenship, like Pasha. Like I said, this has been going on since the 1990s and throughout all the different parties, Republican or Democrats, same shit. Ronald Reagan started it back in 1986. So it's no big deal. I'm not saying it's no big deal. This is something that's ongoing. And sometimes I get upset when people play this bullshit partisan politics when there is no partisan politics. We're going to get into Biden and his wrangling about the budget and stuff like that, because most of this shit is theater. Most of this stuff is theater. Instead of getting down to the real deal and telling the American people exactly what they need to know and being good with it and moving on. It is what it is. You do what you do. And this is the stuff that we got to do. You like it or not, this is a must. And get on with it and stop pandering. to people's emotions and tell them the truth so people can actually get over it and deal with it, like it or not, and stop with all this hubbubaloo, this who banging over whose party is best when neither party is best. There's only one party. Some might be a little bit more to the left, some might be a little bit more to the right. But at the end of the day, Biden said his job was to get America back on the road, back the train back on the tracks. And this is one part of him getting the train back on the tracks by trying to bolster the population in the United States, especially after you lost 600,000 people. That should be a no-brainer to most people when it clicks in their minds for our demographics. But most people are not sophisticated enough to think about why a government does something and why policies exist. Now, some policies don't make any sense. Some policies are basically boutique to actually rally the masses. But most of the, I would say 99% of the policies they pass have a reason behind them. And sometimes the reason is hidden, sometimes it's obvious. This one is obvious. But anyway, I think I've talked long enough about this. Let me check my time. I talked enough about this. We can always talk politics. We can always talk why people do things. And there's tons and tons and tons of reasons why the push and pull of politics do something. Like even with COVID-19, we still got one more hump of COVID-19. And if we get another bad season, like in the wintertime, get another bad season of COVID-19, you're going to see more people being imported and stolen from someplace else. Because a place like Argentina basically really don't have that many people to give. Argentina is below its own fertility rate. So they're taking the educated people that flew in, had enough money to fly into Monterey and then cross the river like they walked the whole way. Come on, man. Anyhow, that's all I got for this one. This is BGS out. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.